enough. Go ahead and call tonight's meeting to order.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. All right. To adopt agenda. Item 3, approval of minutes from March 22nd, 2022. Anyone have any changes they would like to make to the minutes?
I do want to mention and ask, actually, line 147. From what I recall, this was something that I brought up in regards to the electrical permit. That's kind of my niche. So I think I brought that up, and right here it's stating that Terry asked about it. You asked about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was wondering, I didn't know whether that was even an issue.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to clarify.
Okay.
I remember asking that.
All right, well, we were on the same page then. I must have put words in your mouth. But, I mean, even the following line says, Terry stated the electrical was not relevant to the variance. Okay,
Gabriel, can I have you move your microphone back just a little bit? We had some extra feedback tonight.
I'll do this.
Thank you. Did you want to make any changes then? or-
Nope, no, I was more
Okay,
asking.
as it reads. If there's no other changes, I'll go ahead and motion for the meeting minutes to be approved as they're read.
Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will abstain.
One abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to item 4, we're gonna have a public hearing on the preliminary plat for the Prairie Hills with TH Construction. Anoka,
Planning Commission held a public hearing and reviewed the concept plan for the proposed Prairie Hills subdivision at the January 25th, 2022 Planning Commission regular meeting. City Council reviewed the concept plan and a summary of the Planning Commission discussion, as well as public hearing comments and concerns at the February 14th, 2022 regular meeting. The minutes can be reviewed in Attachment 5. The plat consists of 16 buildable single-family rural residential lots. Of the proposed lots, one is the minimum acreage of 2 acres. The average lot size in the proposed plat is 2.54 acres, which exceeds our average requirement of 2.5 acres per lot. Therefore, all lots meet city code requirements. The Building and Public Works Departments reviewed the submitted preliminary plat and are in support of the subdivision as proposed, with no comments on the plat. City engineer comments from April 4th, 2022 are shown as Exhibit A. All items will need to be satisfactorily addressed prior to the final plat. Engineering items include but are not limited to an approved wetland delineation, a lot tabulation for estimated elevations, a stormwater management plan, and vehicle maintenance access easements, some of which have been provided to staff since the submission of this write-up for engineering review. Parks Commission reviewed the final plat on February 8th, 2022 meeting and made a recommendation of park fees in lieu of land. The park dedication fee is determined by 5% of the fair market value of the undeveloped land, not to exceed $2,000 per acre. Staff is working with the property owner to determine the amount required for park dedication fees, which will need to be paid prior to the release of the final plat for filing with Anoka County. The subdivision will be accessed by the extension of a portion of Tippecanoe Street that will extend from 109th Avenue to 213th Avenue. The Anoka County Highway Department reviewed the proposed plat and is requiring the dedication of 60 feet of right-of-way as shown in the plat, as well as the addition of a right turn lane, which is not illustrated on the preliminary plat. Staff requests the Commission hold a public hearing, discuss and recommend approval of the preliminary plat known as Prairie Hills with the conditions set forth in the attached resolution.
thank you. As this is a public hearing, I will go ahead and open it at this time. Anybody who wishes to speak on this matter, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Barb Mace. I live at 2839 196th Avenue. Basically, the southern part of that property runs adjacent to mine. She was reading, and I didn't understand, how many lots are you putting in?
16.
16. And they're 2-acre lots?
The average is 2.54, but there is one that is 2 acres.
Okay. Do you have any idea what kind of housing they're planning on putting in there? As it would obviously affect our land prices or our home prices that are adjacent to that.
That's certainly a question we can ask of the developer, who I believe is here tonight when we go through discussion.
Okay. And then you said that access to it was coming off?
It looks like there's going to be access on 209th and 213th.
Okay, where does that run, like, as far as Klondike? I mean, is Klondike one of the?
Well, if you look behind you, see the blue section there?
Okay.
That would be the proposed new neighborhood,
Okay,
and there'd be a road running right down the middle of that.
okay.
Does that give you more clarification?
Yep, that does. It does. And the only other question I have, and that's probably for the developer as well, is when are they anticipating starting this development? Okay,
Great,
thank you.
thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on the matter? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close, or seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. All right, before we have discussion, is there a motion for approval?
Can we get the developer to answer
Oh,
the questions first?
I'm sorry, now that it's closed. Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
Randy said he wanted it quick, I was just trying to get that back.
Hi there, my name's Jason Rude. I'm with E.G. Rude and Sons. Tony Hennon with TH Construction, he's the developer. He is recuperating from a procedure. Otherwise, he would be here this evening, so I'm here on his behalf. I'll answer your questions as well as I can. Type of housing, I don't know Tony's price point, but I think he's kind of a mid-level quality builder. These will be full basement walkout lots. Desirable quality housing is how I would refer to it. Start date, I think he would start grading as soon as feasible. You know, once we've gone through our city approvals and received all the agency approvals and engineering approvals, I think he would start moving dirt as soon as he could and get the road built and get a model started in the summer.
Any other committee members have any questions while we have them? Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Before discussion, is there any motion?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve resolution number 2022-26, approving the preliminary plat for Prairie Hills. That's it.
I'll second that.
Great, there's a motion and a second. Discussion?
So I do have an item I would like to discuss. I am looking at, this development and other developments that are coming into the city, and it makes me wonder whether or not the city should be asking for a sidewalk on one side of the street. One of the things that many residents have concerns over is that we don't have any trails in this city. And I think having these new developments put in a sidewalk on at least one half of the development for a street would add to the goal of making more paths within the city. I mean, this particular development is not that far from a park to the south. And so I think that, you know, even having that sidewalk that people could walk down this street to get to that park would be something that would be beneficial. I think the other thing that it would add is it's much easier to do a trail / sidewalk as a development rather than after the fact when these properties are already developed. I know that we don't currently have an ordinance pertaining to the current development that's on the table. But I would request that they consider doing it anyway. I will probably be making another motion following the conclusion of this resolution pertaining to this topic of adding more, changing the ordinance and moving forward on this.
Sure, well, if I can interject right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a couple quick things with that. Definitely not a bad thought to have that discussion. I think that discussion for that might be best tabled for maybe our next meeting, when there's more time and we can all be prepared for it. As far as this goes, because it's already been applied for, and sidewalks wouldn't fit in, but right now the ordinance does call for the trail on one side of the street being in the rural residential, but seeing as the Parks Commission's already reviewed it and asked for fees in lieu of the land.
This would not, pardon me for interrupting, I don't mean to do that. Putting in the sidewalk would be separate from a park dedication fee. This would be part of the development itself.
No, but you would reference trail or sidewalk. And in this case, our current ordinance reads that it's for a trail on a rural residential road. And that is something that is reviewed by the Parks Commission. Because even though it's not a park, the trails are typically gone through the Parks Department. So when they've reviewed this, which it shows that they had, at that time, they decided they'd rather have the dedication fees versus having a trail system there. Now, if we wanted to change our ordinance, like I said, I'm always happy to have a conversation. But for this one specifically, I know we've already had the application applied for, so we can't change it partway through.
Mr. Chair, not to delay the vote, but maybe we could get a quick input from staff.
Sure.
And get their thoughts on the discussion.
I mean, Tanner is correct. The ordinance does not require a sidewalk for this subdivision. So holding up, it would have to go through an ordinance change for the city to require it for this subdivision. At which time, like, the review's already started, it's unlikely that the application would be held up for an ordinance amendment. Because as the Planning Commission is aware, ordinance amendments take substantial amount of time.
Okay.
Which is why I suggested maybe, like I said, again, I'm all for having the conversation and what we can look at in future ones. We can't open the can of worms of somebody who's already applied and have them change the parameters on them 2/3 of the way through their process.
I don't think it's out of bounds. As I mentioned earlier, that I knew that this was not part of the ordinance, but making the request. I mean, obviously, they don't have to do it. But to me, I think it's not out of the realm to ask whether or not they could add this to their development. I'm not suggesting that we pause this, stop it, or even change it. I'm just mentioning, number one, that we could ask for it. And number two, I do plan on making this a separate issue, as I stated earlier. So I'm not beholden to the idea of changing the current motion on this particular project.
Okay, I thought when you were making the second point on that, is that you were gonna add that onto this.
No,
Specific
I am,
what?
I am holding off on that motion because we have a motion on the floor. If I was gonna add to it, then I would make an addendum to it.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Outside of that, any other discussion or continued discussion?
Do we know how much is set aside for the park fees? Is
Well,
that
as it
figured out yet?
stated, max of 2,000, or
Yeah.
2,000 per acre, 5% of the fair market value of the undeveloped land. So whatever that calculation
Okay,
comes out to.
yeah. So that would have already been established?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if there's no other discussion, we have motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. This will go before council, which date, Aaron?
The 8th.
8th? Maybe he's got a phone next to a microphone, maybe try moving it away, get some feedback.
I keep trying, slide it away, I don't know if it's mine. Bury it.
Thank you. Seems to be been resolved. Okay,
It's the 9th, Monday, May 9th.
thank you. So this will go before council on Monday, May 9th. Thank you.
So as an aside to this particular issue, I'm gonna make a motion that we have staff, and/or city council, look at changing the ordinance for rural residential development properties to add a sidewalk to one side of the street.
Can we include where feasible, or do you want this all-inclusive?
I think that would be part of the discussion. I mean,
Okay.
I'm merely stating that this is a recommendation, so I'm not defining the parameters
Okay.
of exactly what the final outcome will be of those discussions. But I am asking that the city staff and council consider a change in our ordinance in order to address this issue.
So if I can, is it better to make a motion now, or is it just best to say, can we add this as a discussion item to our next meeting before we make a formal motion? I guess I prefer to have a bigger conversation and get more input and informed with information that staff can bring to us at that time, or unless Stephanie has something.
Yeah, so just so you know, behind the scenes here, staff, myself, including Nate, and then we've also talked with Jack about it, that we do need to start opening up actually the parks plan, and taking a look at that and looking at our trail connections and sidewalks, and especially now that we have these urban areas. So it is something that we have started discussing. It's not gonna be something that's gonna be remedied in a month or two, because it does go into our parks plan as well.
Sure.
But we are well aware of it, and we are starting to discuss it too.
Okay.
So, I guess I go back to my earlier question, do we still wanna make a motion then, or are we,
The motion is on the floor, it needs a second at this point.
is there a second to the motion on the floor?
Could you restate the motion? A lot happened between then and now. So I forgot the exact wording of it.
The motion is that we would recommend that staff and/or city council consider adding a sidewalk to a development in the rural residential neighborhood.
I'll second that.
Well, there's a motion and a second, so then it'd be open for discussion. I would make a recommendation to table the motion to a future meeting, knowing that city staff is currently in development or looking into this so we can have a further discussion with more informed information, would be my recommendation.
Yeah, because it would be nice to know what city staff finds in the course of their
Yes.
investigation.
Well, we will in any case, but I like the idea of letting them know that it's something coming from us as well, as a point of interest.
But I guess isn't that something that can be relayed from city liaison, or staff, or sorry, council liaison, as to the going-ons of planning and zoning, so that way our voice is heard through the body that's here.
Well, that's through the grapevine, and this is through a motion, and I think it's a good point. I'm not, you know, I'm not attached to the way it gets communicated, but I just, you know, think that's one way to do it, and it's as good as another. So, I'm holding on to my second.
I think we're talking semantics. Because this is just a recommendation that is coming from us if it passes, they're free to do whatever they want with it. They can dismiss it, they can do nothing, they can consider it or not. It is just an official statement by this body to consider this item for action. Like Terry says, it does make it official that we're requesting this action. If, however, we just let this not pass, which again is fine, but then it's just, you know, whoever decides to pass it along, if they decide to do so or not. An official motion would have to go to the entire council, rather than you're at the whim of somebody wanting to bring up the discussion.
And I hear what you're saying. I guess that's part of why I was saying to, now that it's been discussed, or at least started the discussion, again, before making the motion, I guess I would prefer, like I said, to have more time to approve or not approve a motion to the city council with more discussion and with more information, also knowing what the city staff may have coming down the pipeline. That's just my personal preference. What the body decides to do, the body decides to do.
Mr. Chair, I actually agree with the motion and your point, but this is making an official statement to the council and to the staff that the planning commission is behind this and behind them doing the work that we know they're already doing, but this will assure that we are on board with what they are doing and are waiting for some information, so.
And again,
Yeah.
I guess from my perspective, not knowing what that fully involves is a pretty open statement from my perspective.
And it's, like you said, it's a recommendation, so we're not saying, yes, it has to, no, it doesn't. It's just a recommendation, let's look into this, so.
Yeah, and again, for me, if we're going farther down the rabbit trail, I see that we currently have it set in our ordinances that there is a trail on one side of the street, and that it is Parks' job to review that and make a recommendation. And just like when we make a recommendation to city council, we hope that they take our time and energy into consideration into our recommendations. And I wouldn't want to take that away from Parks either.
Right.
And I don't want to overstep them by saying, hey, you're not, for lack of a better term, you're not doing your job, or we feel you could be doing a better job. So for me, I'd rather see what city staff wants to come back with before making a formal recommendation to city council, seeing as that there is already some literature on allowing some version of a walking path through rural residential roads. That's my personal outlook on it. But again, however the body chooses.
Would putting this motion through in a way hasten this discussion? I think maybe that's kind of part of your point, at least. You know, as quickly as things are developing. I mean, there's two big developments going up within, you know, a couple miles of each other. How much of a change would it make if we just sat back and didn't versus if we put the recommendation forward? I mean, any?
I don't know if it would. But, I mean, it certainly, it would definitely be heard
Mhm.
as a motion. Again, I still think it'll be heard even as a discussion item from, again, liaison.
Hmm.
Brian's always our liaisons have always usually done a pretty good job of relaying the going-ons.
Mhm.
But, like I said, before making it a formal motion, I know my personal preference would be to have more of a informed discussion, knowing what the intent is, instead of getting behind something that we don't know
Yeah,
all the ins and outs of.
because we don't deal with the trails and the sidewalks.
Correct.
Is there any differentiation between a trail and a sidewalk? I mean, do they,
And again, this would be something that I would say in a grander discussion
Mhm.
where staff can be prepared and we can have information before us to make
Mhm.
a more informed recommendation.
But the motion doesn't recommend anything in particular other than discussion on the topic. So we're not
Is
making.
it a recommendation on discussion, Randy, or was it a recommendation to have it?
Right.
It's a recommendation to consider a development in rural residential, to consider having a sidewalk on one side of the street.
Yeah, I'm going to be voting against it, because I don't want these discussions to go forward with thinking that the planning commission is wanting that recommendation, because I personally don't. I don't think it's necessary to have the extra expenses of sidewalks in these types of developments.
Where there's not even curb and gutter.
Mhm.
Yeah. But again, like I said, I'm not trying to open the box to have the big discussion tonight on it. Like I said, my personal preference, I think I've stated. So, but is there,
Yeah, I think it's fine to say, hey, it's my opinion that it'd be great to have the sidewalks there. That's not my opinion, that's Randy's opinion, apparently, that it's great to have a sidewalk there. I won't be voting for that.
is there any other discussion on the current motion before we vote?
I just want to say, I think kind of along the lines of Sharon. I mean, rural residential out here, still doesn't seem like a sidewalk really is necessary and makes sense for the extra cost that would be put sidewalk in. Like I said, we don't have curb and gutter. It's not, this is just a side street, you know, it's a residential street. You know, people aren't supposed to be driving fast down the road, so I just don't see what benefit there really is to adding a sidewalk.
Any other discussion before we call for the vote? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Was that 3? All opposed?
Aye.
4. So, motion does not pass. Recommendation will not go forth. I would, however, like to reiterate to Brian, our liaison, please let him know that this is on our radar.
I will be doing that.
Thank you. With that, moving on to item 6.
This is for the site plan review at 23428 Highway 65 Northeast for Oak Ridge Auto Body. Hellman Architects is requesting a site plan review of a new 4,900 square foot expansion of the existing structure for Oak Ridge Auto Body and a 432 square foot expansion of exterior storage. Oak Ridge Auto Body is a legal non-conforming automotive repair business. The adjacent property to the north is a light industrial use. The adjacent property sharing the south and western property line to 23428 Highway 65 is a legal non-conforming residential property. The architectural design is attached in Exhibit A. The building exterior is proposed is consistent with the current structure, which is a legal non-conforming pole barn structure. Approval of the site plan would be an expansion of the legally non-conforming status of the structure and building materials. The landscaping plan is, as proposed, is showing a slatted chain link privacy fence bordering the west and south property lines to screen a property that is zoned light industrial with a legally non-conforming residential use. Zoning Appendix A, Section 23, Screening Regulations, Subpart 1B, states any business, industrial, non-residential uses, and residential dwellings other than detached single-family adjacent to a residential district shall provide screening along the boundary of a residential property. The new fence is shown on attachment 1, exhibit C. There is no proposed addition to landscaping. Lighting and parking plan. In the proposed renderings of the addition, there is an additional light shown over the door of the garage area. Per Appendix A, zoning section 22-7, subpart 22, motor vehicle sales and service establishments are required 3 spaces per 1,000 square feet of building area plus 2 spaces per 5,000 square feet of lot area, but no less than 3 spaces. The existing structure is 4,000 square feet, making a total finished area of 8,900 square feet. The ordinance requires a total of 24 parking spaces for this property. However, this business does not offer walk-in services and works on vehicles that have been in accidents. Appendix A, zoning, section 22-7, subpart 32 states, for uses specifically not mentioned, it allows for the zoning administrator to make a determination on an individual basis. In this situation, considering the present use, as well as for future uses of this property, staff finds 10 parking spaces reasonable for the following reasons. The existing parking area is not paved nor striped. A paved parking lot will lessen the nonconformity of this present lot. There is also adequate space to expand the parking area. If the use changes, the proposed turnaround for trucks could be utilized for an additional parking lot as well. Staff has spoken with the property owner and applicant, and they are aware that it will need to be paved. However, an extension was requested. It was determined by staff that a 2-year extended deadline to pave the parking lot and add additional lighting would be sufficient. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the site plan and make a recommendation of approval to City Council with the conditions set forth in Resolution 2022-27 with the accompanied exhibits.
Thank you, Aaron. All right. Is there a motion for the resolution before us? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-27, the approval of the site plan review for Oak Ridge Auto Body with the recommendations of staff.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on. On to council report. Oh, sorry, on to council at also the May 9th meeting as well. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, moving on, item 7, council report. Got me with a double entendre there, Stephanie.
Good evening, Planning Commission. I hope the day finds you very well. I'm Brian Bundle, your council liaison, and here is our report of council activities. We approved hiring a building permit technician and a summer intern for the Community Development Department. The building permit technician will be taking Desiree's spot, and Desiree will be taking another role within City Hall. We approved the Parks Capital Improvement Plan for the years 2023 through 2027. Not everything is set in stone on those, but it's just a good guide of what we'd like to accomplish in the parks, and this was recommended and developed by the Parks Commission. Booster West Trail will be paved before Booster Day. If you've taken a drive down the road here, you've seen that there's a nice dirt path that's been there for a while. Unfortunately, that did not get paved before the construction season ended last fall, but it will begin paved and it will be ready, and from what I'm told, planted, have grass before Booster Day.
What is the function of that, or purpose for it?
The trail, it was a formal trail to cross from Booster East to Booster West and lead to the pavilion on Booster West. See, we approved a compliance agreement with B-Rock. If you recall, this was the auto body or auto body or auto mechanic home occupation that spurred some discussion on council and with the planning commission. And what this does is allows them to continue operating as a business with a sunset date of a year and 1 month. So we're not kicking them out of the city or shutting them down. We're allowing them time to find a place and relocate. I wish them well. We approved a request for proposals for animal control services. I don't know if I mentioned it last month, but North Metro is shutting down, not just for East Bethel, but for everybody. And so we're trying to find a suitable solution right now, because I think he is planning to end his services on June 1st. In the meantime, if animal control services are needed, our county sheriff that we contract with can handle transportation of dogs. This is not the solution that we want, nor the permanent solution that we want, but in the meantime, we need something. So by allowing the request for proposals to be sent out, we will hopefully find a new animal control vendor for the city of East Bethel. Upcoming, we have the fire department recruiting event, May 12th at 6:30 at Station 1. So if you ever wanted to be a fireman or firewoman, fire person, go on down there. You're not obligated to sign up on the spot if you're just interested. Want more information, go on down there. The fire department will also this fall be having a Citizens Fire Academy. So citizens can attend it, I guess have chances to put fires out, learn more about fires and emergency services. There's no dates set for that yet, but that should be, it's a new thing, should be a fun, exciting thing for anybody with an interest to go down and check it out. And I have been a fire liaison to the fire department in the past, and going down there and seeing them in action and participating in some of their drills and training, it really opens your eyes to what they actually do and what they go through just to serve our community. So I would encourage everybody to attend something of those. They will be also having a open house in September. Otherwise, July 16th is Booster Day. Looking forward to that. And we also have a 2022 North Artist Studio Crawl, Saturday, April 30th and Sunday, May 10th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
I think it means May 1st.
May 1st, yes. So there are some local artists in our community that has their work featured in this. So see if you have more questions on this.
I have some additional maps if anyone's interested. Thank you, Brian.
And is there a phone number that they can call, or someone that they
They
can
are on
contact?
Facebook.
Okay, so if you search,
Yeah.
RumRiverArt.com.
And, yeah,
if you search North Artist Studio Crawl
and then
on
North
Facebook,
Artist Studio on Facebook,
you
yes.
should be able to find it.
Yep.
All right. Otherwise, that is my report for the evening. Do anybody have any questions, comments?
Thank you for the update.
Absolutely, I will see you at the next meeting.
See you then. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I skipped the second. Anybody want a second to that?
Second.
Randy, second. Thank you again. Motion passes. See you next month.